My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 25, from Boston, and I work as an architect for a mid-sized firm downtown. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, I went to see my girlfriend. Her mom opened the door and said, "Come in," quietly. I met Claire 2 years ago at a client's office, the kind of accidental meeting that feels like fate disguised as coincidence. She worked in marketing, I was presenting a design proposal, and she was the only one who laughed when my laptop froze mid-presentation and I joked that I build structures better than PowerPoint slides. There was something in her smile that day, quiet, knowing, almost mischievous, that made the rest of the room fade. We went for coffee after that meeting. One coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekends spent wrapped in each other's worlds. By the time spring came around this year, I knew she was it for me. The kind of knowing that sits in your bones, unshakable. But things weren't simple. They never are. Claire lived with her mom, Evelyn, in a large old Victorian house on the outskirts of town. Her father had passed away 5 years earlier, and Evelyn had a way of moving through life with the kind of grace that came from surviving storms most people couldn't imagine. She was striking, tall, elegant, with a presence that felt like it belonged to another era. Still, something about the house always unsettled me. It wasn't the creaking floors or the way the hallways seemed to swallow sound. It was the way I always felt watched, not by Evelyn, but by the memories that seemed to hang in the walls. It was late on a Friday evening when I decided to surprise Claire. We'd had an argument earlier in the week, nothing catastrophic, just one of those misunderstandings that felt bigger than it should have. She'd been distant since, her texts shorter, her calls brief. I told myself the visit was about making amends. But if I was being honest, it was also about reassurance. I wanted to see her eyes when she looked at me. The sky was heavy that night, bruised with dark clouds, and a thin drizzle streaked across my windshield as I drove to her place. When I pulled up to the house, the lights inside were dim, shadows pooling in the corners of the windows. I hesitated before knocking. The door opened almost immediately. It wasn't Claire. It was her mother. Evelyn stood there in a long, cream-colored cardigan, her hair falling loosely around her shoulders. She didn't smile the way she usually did. Instead, she stepped slightly aside and whispered, almost urgently, "Come in," quietly. Her voice sent a ripple through me. Not fear exactly, but something close. The warmth of the house hit me as I stepped inside, but the atmosphere felt strange. Too still, too tense. "Is everything okay?" I asked, lowering my voice to match hers. She closed the door softly behind me. "Claire's upstairs," she said. "She doesn't know you're here." There was a pause. Her eyes searched mine for a moment, like she was deciding whether or not to say more. "She's been upset," Evelyn continued. "I think she needs you, but you have to be gentle." Something about the way she said gentle made my chest tighten. I nodded, trying to read her expression. But Evelyn was unreadable. Her face calm, composed, her voice steady, like someone who'd practiced holding secrets. The staircase groaned under my weight as I climbed. Halfway up, I caught a glimpse of the hallway, lined with old photographs. Claire as a child, Claire with her father, family vacations. But something about the photos made me uneasy. Every frame seemed slightly tilted, as though someone had moved them and never fixed them. At the top of the stairs, her bedroom door was ajar. I pushed it open. Claire sat on the edge of her bed, her back to me. She was wearing one of my old hoodies, sleeves pulled over her hands. Her shoulders slumped like the weight of the world had settled there. I almost spoke, almost said her name, but something stopped me. She wasn't crying. She wasn't moving, just sitting. When she finally turned her head, I felt my breath catch. Her eyes, usually so alive, so full of mischief, looked hollow. "Daniel." Her voice was barely audible, like she wasn't sure if I was real. "I didn't mean to scare you," I said softly, stepping closer. "I just wanted to see you." For a second, I thought she might smile, but she didn't. Instead, she whispered something I'll never forget. "You shouldn't have come tonight." I froze, confusion spreading through me. "What do you mean?" Her gaze darted to the door, like she was afraid someone might be listening. Then, almost imperceptibly, she shook her head. "Not now," she said. "Not here." A floorboard creaked in the hallway. We both turned. Evelyn stood there, half-shadowed, her hand resting lightly on the doorframe. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice calm. Too calm. Claire didn't answer. And for the first time since I'd met her, I saw something in her eyes I couldn't name. Fear. But not of me, of her. The air in that room thickened the moment Evelyn's voice drifted in. She stood there, still as a painting, one hand on the doorframe, the other at her side. The hallway light cut across her face, throwing half of it into shadow. Claire's fingers tightened on the edge of the bedspread. I could see the small tremor in her hand. "Yes," I said quickly, stepping into the silence. "We're fine. I just wanted to talk to her." Evelyn's gaze lingered on me for a beat too long. Then she nodded, a slow, deliberate motion, and disappeared down the hall. I waited for the sound of her footsteps on the stairs. They never came. Claire didn't speak right away. She just looked at me. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but her throat couldn't push the words out. Finally, she whispered, "You shouldn't have surprised me tonight." "I was trying to make things right," I said, my voice low. "I didn't like how we left things the other day. I just wanted to see you." Her shoulders rose and fell in a shaky breath. "It's not about that," she murmured. "Then what is it?" Her eyes flickered again to the door, like a reflex, like she couldn't help it. "She's been different," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ever since?" She trailed off, biting her lip, her face tightening. "Ever since what?" I pressed gently. Before she could answer, a soft creak came from the hallway again. We both froze. The door wasn't closed. Evelyn was standing there again. Only this time, she wasn't at the frame. She was closer, much closer. Her face was calm. Too calm. But there was something in her eyes. Something sharp. "I made tea," she said. Her tone was friendly, almost warm. But there was an undertone. Something unspoken that sent a small chill down my spine. "Thanks," I said carefully. "Come downstairs when you're ready," she added, then glanced at Claire. A glance that wasn't just a glance, it was a message. Then she turned and walked away. Claire's hand found mine the moment she was gone. "Dan," she whispered urgently, "please just go." The words hit me like cold water. "Go," I repeated. "Why?" Her grip tightened, her nails pressing into my palm. "She doesn't like surprises," Claire said. "She doesn't like when things don't go her way." "She seemed fine," I said, though even as the words left my mouth, I didn't believe them. Claire shook her head, her voice trembling. "You don't know her like I do. I should have left. Every instinct in me said to leave. But love has a way of twisting instincts, dulling them. Instead, I told her, I'm not going anywhere." She stared at me, eyes wide, as if she couldn't decide whether that made her feel safe or terrified. We went downstairs together. The living room was dimly lit, the old grandfather clock ticking in the corner, its chime faint and hollow. Evelyn was in the kitchen, pouring tea into delicate porcelain cups. "Here you go," she said, her voice pleasant, almost melodic. "Chamomile. It helps with nerves." She handed me a cup, her fingers grazing mine for a fraction of a second. It felt deliberate, too deliberate. We sat. Claire didn't touch her tea. Evelyn did. I watched her as she sipped, her movements precise, graceful, almost hypnotic. Then she looked at me. "Daniel," she said softly, "do you love my daughter?" The question hung in the air like smoke. "Yes," I said without hesitation. Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Good," she said, "because she deserves someone who will stay. Someone who won't run when things get complicated." Her eyes locked on mine as she said the last word. Complicated. Claire shifted uncomfortably beside me. "Mom," she said quietly, "please don't." Evelyn's gaze didn't leave me. "She's had enough loss," she continued, as if Claire hadn't spoken. Her father, our home before this one, friends who drifted away, but you're here. You came back. She set her teacup down with a soft clink. Will you keep coming back, Daniel? It should have been a simple question, but it didn't feel simple. The way she asked it, there was weight there, something beneath the surface. I glanced at Claire. Her face was pale, her jaw tight. Mom, she said again, her voice sharper this time. Stop. Evelyn's eyes flickered to her daughter. For the first time, the pleasant mask cracked. Her smile faded, her lips pressing into a thin line. Why don't you show Daniel the study? She said suddenly, her tone brisk. Claire hesitated. I don't. Now, Evelyn said. Her voice wasn't raised, but there was a sharpness in it that made the room feel colder. We went. The study was down the hall behind a heavy oak door. Claire closed it the moment we stepped inside, her breath quickening. Dan, she whispered, grabbing my hands. Listen to me. Whatever you do, don't be alone with her tonight. I stared at her, my heart thudding. What are you talking about? She shook her head. There's so much you don't know. About her. About this house. She turned toward the shelves, her fingers brushing along the spines of old books like she was searching for something. Claire, I started. Before I could finish, the door creaked open behind us. Evelyn stood there, framed in the doorway, her silhouette cutting through the dim light. Her voice was calm. Daniel, she said, we need to talk. Evelyn's voice was soft, but there was an edge to it, like a knife wrapped in silk. Claire's grip on my hand tightened. Daniel, Evelyn said again, just you and me. Claire stepped in front of me. No, Mom. The calm expression on Evelyn's face didn't change. She didn't raise her voice, but something in her eyes sharpened, and she said, almost in a whisper, Claire. That single word, quiet but commanding, made the room feel smaller. I felt Claire's hand tremble against mine. You don't have to go, she whispered to me, her voice shaking, but I looked at Evelyn, standing there in the doorway, and something in her stillness pulled me in. Against my better judgment, I nodded. It's fine, I said softly, though I wasn't sure if I was saying it for Claire or for myself. Claire looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She just stepped aside, her eyes darting between me and her mother like she was watching a storm roll in and couldn't stop it. Evelyn led me down the hallway, her footsteps light, almost soundless. We stopped in the kitchen. The faint scent of chamomile tea still hung in the air, mingling with something else. Something I couldn't place, but it felt old. She gestured for me to sit. I did. For a moment, she said nothing, just poured herself another cup of tea, her movements precise, deliberate, like a ritual she'd done 1,000 times. Finally, she spoke. You love her, she said, almost to herself. Yes, I said firmly. Good, she replied, because she needs that. She needs someone strong. Her gaze lifted, locking onto mine. You see, Claire is fragile in ways she won't admit. After her father died, she fell apart for a while. I had to hold her together. There was a flicker in her expression, pride maybe, or something darker, and I promised myself I'd never let her break again, Evelyn continued. But you've changed her. I frowned slightly. Changed her how? Her smile was faint, but it didn't reach her eyes. She's happier, she said, brighter, and that's good. But happiness can make people careless, vulnerable. The words hung between us. I swallowed. I don't want to hurt her, Evelyn. I never would. Her eyes softened for a moment, or maybe I just imagined it. I believe you, she said quietly. But love isn't just about not hurting someone. It's about protecting them from being hurt by anyone, from being taken away. Her voice dropped lower. And I won't let anyone take her away from me. Not again. Something in my chest tightened. The way she said it, it wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, she reached across the table and touched my hand. Her fingers were warm, too warm. She chose you, Evelyn said softly. That means I have to trust you. She paused, her eyes searching mine with an intensity that felt like it could peel me open. But if you ever make her cry like she cried the night her father died, her hand tightened around mine, just enough to make me feel the strength in her grip. You'll wish you hadn't. I didn't flinch. I love her, I said again. Something in my voice must have landed, because Evelyn finally released my hand and leaned back, her expression softening. Not into warmth exactly, but into something less sharp. Then we understand each other, she murmured. When I went back upstairs, Claire was standing in the hallway, her arms wrapped around herself like she was bracing for bad news. What did she say? She whispered. I hesitated. She just wanted to talk, I said. Claire's eyes searched mine, and I stepped closer, placing my hands gently on her shoulders. She loves you, I said, more than anything, but she's intense. Claire gave a hollow laugh. That's one word for it. We didn't stay long after that. I held Claire's hand as we left the house, feeling Evelyn's gaze on us from the window as we walked to my car. That night, as we drove back to my apartment, Claire leaned against me and whispered, You don't know everything about her, about what she's been through. I didn't push. Some truths don't reveal themselves all at once. Months later, when Claire and I finally moved in together, Evelyn helped pack the boxes. She smiled as she handed me a stack of Claire's childhood books, but there was something in her eyes, a shadow, a quiet ache, as she watched her daughter carry her life out of that house. And as we drove away that day, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw her standing on the porch, her cardigan wrapped tight around her, her face unreadable. Now, years later, I still think about that night. The tea, the whispers, the unspoken warnings. I used to think Evelyn didn't trust me. But the truth is, she was never testing me. She was testing love itself. Life has a way of teaching you that love isn't just about holding someone close. It's about standing firm when storms close in, even when those storms come in the shape of the people they trust the most. Because real love isn't just about being there. It's about staying there. No matter who whispers, come in quietly.